Well, folks, it happened. The AK era in Chicago has come to an end after 6 years. We have to talk about our Bulls.
Oh, we absolutely do. I mean, it is just a massive, massive shakeup.
It really is. And for today's deep dive, our mission is to unpack this whole chaotic situation. Because if you're a casual NBA fan or, even a diehard, this is just a masterclass in how a franchise struggles with ego and rebuilding.
Yeah, completely.
We're going to hit three specific things. First, the actual firing of the front office. Then that eye-opening press conference from CEO Michael Reinsdorf and all the wild contradictions in it.
Right, the contradictions were amazing.
They really were. And finally, we're going to look at how the Bulls' recent blowout win over the Wizards is actually the perfect, ironic microcosm of everything the fans have been complaining about.
It is the perfect example. I mean, you can't script it any better.
No, you really can't. So let's just start with the earthquake itself, right? After years of just pure frustration, the front office is out. They officially relieved Vice President of Basketball Operations Arturas Karnisovas, or AK as everyone calls him, and General Manager Marc Eversley of their duties.
Yeah, 6 years of that regime just gone.
Gone. And looking at the sources, the fan and media reaction was literally described as a national holiday.
Which is wild.
People were saying it felt like Christmas morning.
Right, and, when a fan base is that euphoric about executives getting fired, it really tells you just how deep the despair was. Because the grievance wasn't that the Bulls were the worst team in the league.
No, not at all.
It was that they were stuck in the absolute worst place you can be in the modern NBA, which is the middle.
Okay, hold on. Let's pause there for a second. Because if you're just a casual fan listening to this, being in the middle sounds, fine. You win some, you lose some. Why is the middle an unmitigated disaster?
Well, it's a disaster because of how you acquire talent. The NBA is entirely driven by superstars. To get one, you usually need a really high draft pick.
Right.
And to get a high pick, you have to be bad, you have to lose games. But if you want to win a title, you need to win 50-plus games.
Yeah.
The Bulls were doing neither. They were just sitting there having these, 39 to 40 win seasons.
I mean, I have to use an analogy here because it feels like being on a treadmill, You're sweating, you're working incredibly hard, you're spending all this money, but you are literally going absolutely nowhere.
That is the exact perfect way to describe it.
Yeah.
You end up not getting playoff success, but you also don't get the high draft picks.
Yeah, and to make it worse, AK's communication style was just a huge pain point for people. The sources say he basically lived in the Batcave.
The Batcave, yeah.
He refused to speak to the media, he'd make these really puzzling moves, and the team just became a national laughingstock. I mean, the sources specifically mentioned that Jaden Ivey situation.
Oh, man.
Yeah, it was just a total mess. But on a positive note, the next GM is inheriting a pretty decent situation, right?
Yeah.
A clean slate.
Yeah, actually. They're looking at $65 million in cap space, which is huge. They have all their own draft picks, plus they might get Portland's pick.
Oh, wow.
And they have injured players coming back. So the war chest is there.
Okay, but this is what I don't get. If the writing was on the wall for years, why did ownership wait until right now? Right before a crucial draft and free agency period to finally pull the plug.
Well, I think they looked at that $65 million in cap space and realized they just couldn't trust AK and Eversley to spend it. If you let them make those choices, you're locked into their vision for another 5 years.
Okay, that makes sense. So they clear house. And with them gone, someone had to explain this mess to the fans. Which brings us to CEO Michael Reinsdorf stepping up to the podium.
Which is rare in itself. He almost never does that.
Exactly. So he gets up there, and I'm thinking, okay, we're going to get some clarity, but the contradictions hidden in this press conference were just staggering.
They really were. Though, to be fair, he did take some accountability at first.
He did. He admitted the team hasn't delivered the success the fans deserve, and he acknowledged that they made mistakes in 2020 during the hiring process.
Right, because they did it over Zoom without a search firm.
Yeah, over Zoom. But this time, he says they're hiring an external search firm to cast a wide net. And he specifically praised Sam Presti and the OKC Thunder's front office structure.
Which sounds great on paper. Sam Presti's like the gold standard for rebuilding right now.
Right. But then, and this is where it gets crazy long, Reinsdorf claims it's a clean slate, but immediately slaps all these constraints on the new GM.
Ooh, the constraints are massive.
First, he says that if a GM candidate doesn't want to keep head coach Billy Donovan, then they just aren't the right fit. And second, he doubled down on his absolute hatred for tanking.
Yeah, which makes praising the Thunder so ironic. The Thunder famously tanked to get all those assets.
Exactly. It's such glaring hypocrisy. Like, think about it like a restaurant. Reinsdorf is basically telling fans, hey, we have a blank slate, order whatever you want.
Right.
But then he hands the new GM this like prefix menu where Billy Donovan is the only appetizer and no tanking is the only main course.
That's a great analogy.
I mean, how many top-tier executive candidates will actually take this job if they aren't allowed to pick their own head coach?
Very, very few. Any elite executive wants full autonomy to build their own culture. Mandating that the coach stays is a huge red flag that ownership is going to meddle.
Oh, absolutely. And then he also denied rumors that AK and Eversley had received secret contract extensions last year. But the part that really had me reeling was this infamous quote.
Oh, the basketball gods quote.
Yes, he literally blamed the basketball gods for their draft woes. He stated as a complete fact, and I quote, "If Josh Giddey doesn't hit that half-court shot against the Lakers, Cooper Flagg is the numbered-in pick for the Chicago Bulls."
Which is just mathematically and logically absurd.
Wait, explain that for a second. Why is it absurd? Because if they lose that game, their record is worse, right?
Sure, their record is worse, which means they get a different combination of ping pong balls in the lottery. But it doesn't mean the exact winning combination that secured the #1 pick would have magically landed in their lap.
Right, it's totally random.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a way to deflect blame from poor roster construction by pretending the universe was out to get them.
It's incredible. And to perfectly illustrate the danger of this whole always stay competitive philosophy of his, we just have to look at the game the Bulls just played.
The blowout against the Wizards.
Yes. A 129-98 blowout victory in D.C. And the sources describe this game as a clash of ethical tanking versus egregious tanking.
Oh, and the Wizards were definitely egregious.
I mean, they started 0 for 8 on threes. They committed 15 turnovers in the first half alone. They were actively trying to lose. Meanwhile, the Bulls, I mean, what were they doing?
They were playing like it was Game 5 of the playoffs.
Literally.
Yeah.
Coach Billy Donovan was calling timeouts while up by more than 20 points in the fourth quarter. You had Colin Sexton out there playing full-court defense, racking up career-high steals.
Yeah, just giving 110% in a totally meaningless game.
And Rob Dillingham drops a career-high 26 points. And my favorite part, Patrick Williams, who the fans call April Pat because he always does this miraculously, shows up for a meaningless late-season game with 20 points and a plus 25 rating.
It's hilarious, but it's also tragic for the franchise.
It really is. Let's talk about the math of the mistake here. Because by winning this meaningless game, the Bulls actively hurt their lottery odds. The sources pointed out that the Bucks lost to the Nets on that exact same night.
Right, which creates a tie.
And because of how NBA lottery tiebreakers work, if the Bulls and Bucks tie in the standings, they don't use head-to-head records.
No, they don't.
They combine their lottery odds and split them evenly. So they severely reduce their mathematical combinations to move up in the draft just to win an April game by 30 points.
Exactly. They gave away future value for absolutely nothing.
Which brings me to a huge question. Is Billy Donovan coaching to win an April game by 30 points just to prove a point to ownership that he deserves to stay? Like, even if it actively torpedoes the team's future draft equity?
Honestly, it's highly likely. When the owner publicly says, "We don't tank, and Billy Donovan is our guy," Donovan is incentivized to win every single possession to validate that trust.
Even if it destroys the tools the next GM needs.
Precisely. It's just a vicious cycle of short-term thinking, which, brings all these threads together into one really important thought for the listener to ponder.
Lay it on us.
Think about it like this. If an organization fires its architects, but keeps the exact same stubborn blueprints, like refusing to rebuild, keeping the same coach, and trying to win meaningless April games, are they actually fixing the house? Or are they just putting a new coat of paint over a rotting foundation?
Wow. Yeah, that is the question. Well, thank you for listening. Please comment, subscribe if you're on YouTube. Spotify, please leave 5-star review. It will help the channel grow. Until next time, please check our previous episodes.